Hello, and welcome to Friday. Starting things off, today's honestly been going in a direction I wasn't really expecting. I talked about it in yesterday's vlog, how I did a test for collection clearing last night with my friends, and we ran into quite a few hiccups. Some of them were pertaining to the 3DS, other hiccups are pertaining to the ROG. Now, I do want to preface, the issues that we were having with the ROG were not exclusive to this device. It was exclusive to my setup. Now, for those of you who don't know what my current ROG setup is like, I have a dock connected to my TV, and then from the dock, I have a hard drive bay that has a 4 terabyte hard drive that I use exclusively for games that may not necessarily fit on the ROG and may not necessarily need to be on a SSD. Well, here's the fun thing. The hard drive bay that I was using wasn't working. And so I have spent the last hour trying to figure out what was wrong with the hard drive bay. Now, to just show what bays I use, these are the hard drive bays that I've been using. I have 2 of these. One of them I was using for the Steam Deck, and one of them I was using for the ROG. The Steam Deck one had an 8 terabyte hard drive that entirely just had ROMs, because as of now, I am still using the Steam Deck for emulation games, and the ROG is for PC games. So the issue that we ran into was that the ROG would detect that the hard drive bay was plugged in, but it wouldn't actually detect the hard drive. And so I was trying to figure out for the life of me why this wasn't working. Eventually, I figured out last night through connecting the identical hard drive bay, because again, I have 2 of these, one for the Steam Deck, one for the ROG. All I did was plug the hard drive that was initially for the Steam Deck into the ROG and put the hard drive in there. Worked flawlessly. So that gave me the idea that, okay, something is wrong with the bay. Well, after doing extensive testing, I can determine it's not actually anything wrong with the bay. The power adapter is busted. The power adapter that was used for the hard drive bay connected to the ROG does not work. It doesn't draw enough power to the hard drive bays to properly power them, rendering the thing practically worthless. So what I decided to do, and this was kind of an idea that I already had, but this kind of just kickstarted the entire idea. Rather than having 2 separate setups for both the Steam Deck and the ROG, considering the fact that they're both just handheld units that connect to the dock, I'm just gonna have them connected to the same setup. So the ROG and the Steam Deck now share the same setup. Now, here's my reasoning for this. So, the dock for the ROG is actually better than the Steam Deck dock. This is the official Valve Steam Deck dock. That thing is $80 and it's horrible. I have had so many issues with this thing. It is, no joke, a 50-50 shot on whether or not this thing's actually going to work when I plug the Steam Deck in. This dock, I've had absolutely 0 issues with both testing it on the ROG as well as on the Steam Deck. This dock is actually more reliable and it's half the price. On top of that, I have a wireless keyboard and mouse connected to the dock that I shared between the Steam Deck and the ROG. So if I'm already sharing a hard drive bay and I'm sharing a keyboard and mouse, why not just have them both connected to the same dock when they don't require their own docks, like the Switch? Just have them share the same dock, and then all I have to do is swap hard drives depending on which system I'm using, which actually leads into that little box right there. That box is just like a protective hard drive box that I've had lying around in storage forever and have never used. I decided whatever hard drive I'm not using, which is entirely dependent on which system is not being used on the dock, that hard drive just goes into the little protective case. So right now, the hard drive that's for the ROG is in the case. And if I swap to the ROG, then the hard drive for the Steam Deck is going to go in the case. Which leads into my third thing that I'm doing today. Third? I don't know. Numbers are weird. The next thing that I've been working on, which you can probably tell from my desktop, is the 3DS. So I was having some issues with the 3DS last night. Really, it was just Paper Mario that I was having issues with. That's not really what I'm going to go into. What I'm going to go into is, I talked about before how I put a 400 gigabyte hard drive onto the 3DS with the idea of installing every 3DS game on there. But then I found out that there is a character limit of 300, meaning that at most you could download 300 games, and there are significantly more than 300 3DS games. One other thing I may have failed to mention is the 3DS actually has loading issues depending on how big the hard drive is. The bigger the hard drive, the longer it takes for the system to load. So that 400 gigabyte hard drive is more of a detriment than anything. Especially because, after looking into how much space I was actually using on the thing, I was only using 60 gigabytes. So what's the point of having the 400 gig SD card in there when I have other devices that could use that? Which leads into what I'm about to talk about. So, in that little hard drive protective thing that I was just talking about, apparently we had a 128 gigabyte micro SD card in there, just completely empty, wasn't being used. I didn't even know. I completely forget that we even have that thing all the time, so I was like, oh cool, we just have a 128 gig SD card lying around. Wouldn't it be great if I put this in the 3DS and then put the 400 gig card in the ROG, so that way I have 1.5 terabytes on hand on the system, and then I have an additional 4 terabytes on the dock? That would be awesome. So that's what I'm doing. Unfortunately, it is taking an eternity to transfer, because what I'm doing is, currently I'm transferring everything from the 400 gig card to my desktop, and then I'm going to transfer from my desktop to the 100 gig card, and then we'll just go from there. But, yeah, this has been my day so far. Now, last thing I want to talk about for today is Johnny's actually out for the day. His dad's doing a bunch of stuff today and needed Johnny's help, so, originally the plan was that his dad was going to come pick him up, but I guess things changed, so I quickly had to go drop him off to his dad's house, so I am pretty much home alone for the day. Johnny's going to be coming back home, I think he said around like 4 or 5 p.m., so basically right around when we're going to start playing Secret of Mana together, he'll be home, so yeah, I pretty much got the afternoon to myself, which means I'm just going to be working on cleaning up the game room, because it's a mess.